moving pixels, 500 layers, explaining designs to devs. Photoshop name, final, finish. Design systems, inspecting code, designers becoming borderline developers. So what happened that changed designers from visual creatives into pixel perfect system thinking pseudo developers? Well, what happened? Figma happened, and design will never be the same again. So to figure out how we got here, we really need to go back and piece together all the little moments where everything changed and the effect that it has had. Now I know there's probably people more experienced than me that worked on earlier design tools, but this was my experience. And my experience was working on a totally legal, not cracked version of Photoshop. That's where design started for me. With Photoshop and Illustrator, this is where I learned how to design websites. And now when I look back, it was pretty chaotic, but there was a lot of room for creativity. None of this thinking about pixel perfection. You were just in there cranking out designs. Sometimes you'd use a grid, but that'd be about it. You would add whatever effects, and let's be real, when you're in that flow state, you weren't naming layers or anything like that. You were just adding things on top of each other, make some new layers, add some new stuff to make it look cool. And it only became an issue when this happened. If you were designing at this time, you know what it felt like. You were designing for like 2 hours and then you had to find a specific image or something and you could not figure out what layer it was, what was it behind, was it a locked layer? How could you find it? At this stage of the start, I don't know about the box model or what REM or any conversations about tech feasibility. I just knew my task was to make a cool website that worked, and that's what I tried to do. So you're probably thinking, if this is so fun, what happened? Why'd you stop? Well, it wasn't gonna last forever. Something came along in the industry that shook everything up. Static designs just weren't really gonna cut it anymore. This small piece of technology came along. You might have heard of it before. It was the Yeah, the birth of the smartphone. This really started changing things up, and it was on a computer. There was kind of standard sizing. You knew it would be on a screen like that. So you design it on the website, static, the layout, you hand it over to a dev, and it would get built. Sometimes it wasn't perfect, but at least you kind of knew that your website was going to be on a desktop per se. So you roughly had an idea of what the size of it was going to be like. Now with the smartphone introduced and businesses really wanting to have their websites on phones, that changed stuff up because you can't have a website this size really fit down onto a phone that's this size. And you couldn't just expect developers to do all the extra work of figuring out how to make a website go from 920 pixels to 700 pixels and how it was going to look. So this led to more handovers, but also it led to more designs as a designer. And this just started to stack as well, as there was a growing amount of device sizes. So instead of just being able to make your one Photoshop file, you were now expected to make more Photoshop files. And this handover started to really suck. You would have to export your file and then you have to either send it over to a dev through an email. This was pre-COVID, so we didn't really have the collaboration tools that we have now. So you'd either send it over or you'd meet up and try to explain everything in person. And it just started to become less and less efficient because you were having to do so much more design work and then also explain it to a dev, but then also kind of fill in all the gaps as well. Because there is a bit of a difference between, even from desktop to laptop size, what kind of happens in that middle spot. And then the word responsive design started getting thrown around a lot. And really it just started becoming more and more inefficient the way that we were doing it. Adobe at this time really had a stranglehold on the design industry. There was 2 other products at this time. If you know what they were. But really, I think they deserve their own full video one day about what happened to them. Because they really had their moment in the sun and then they disappeared. Comment below if you think you know what those ones are and if you'd be interested in a video about them. So while all this was happening and Adobe was kind of sitting at the undisputed king of design tools, 2 guys looked at Photoshop and thought, see this giant, powerful design tool that we have here. What about if it lived in a browser? And what if multiple people could be editing in it at the same time? And really, at the start, they really talked about how design should be more accessible for everyone. It should be a lower barrier to get into it, and it should be easier for designers to work with everyone. Earlier on, they experimented with other browser-based tools. I even read somewhere that they experimented with a meme generator at one point, which is pretty hilarious where Figma has ended up now. But it seems as they kind of went through some of the things stuck, and one of the core things was real-time collaboration. Figma really started shaking things up because you know what, they were doing a lot of good and they were changing things from how they were. Once Figma went from just being invite only and started spreading up further, they quietly but kind of felt like it was quickly started spreading through startups and businesses in the industry. Really comparing them to what was around at the time, they were a much more affordable alternative to what Photoshop and Adobe were charging. They were super lightweight. I remember using previous tools and every time you added an effect, it would take like 30 seconds for it to buffer. Being able to scroll and stack things freely on this infinite canvas felt so amazing. And we can't skip real-time collaboration. One of the major things I remember the first time using Figma that really blew my mind was the kind of Google Docs nature of it. I was working as a freelancer at the time and a developer I was working with sent me across this file. And I remember opening it and seeing him in there at the same time, circling something that he wanted me to look at. And me being able to just collaborate with him and both be in this file at the same time was so different than what I had done before. But one of the major features that I think came out with Figma that really was a landmark moment was a little feature called auto layout. And I don't know about you, but the first time I used auto layout, it was strange. It did not make sense to me. It really was a bit of a shift and there was a learning curve to it. Because until this point, me designing, I was just putting stuff wherever, everything was freeform, you just dragging and placing it. You want these text over here, you place it over there. You want an image underneath, you just drop that in. And this is how I actually started in Figma as well. It's just drawing rectangles, drawing text on top of things. And then it wasn't until someone told me about auto layout and kind of showed me what it was that I really had to reconsider, oh, why am I designing the way I am? And once I played around with it and got the hang of it, I could actually understand kind of the vision of what we were going for here. Being able to design something that was actually closer to what the developed product was going to look like. And after a while, you kind of just got accustomed to it. I know a lot of designers now that just design purely in auto layout with products or websites. It just makes sense, and that's how they design most efficiently and quickly. And then after that, more features started coming in. Specifically, you could kind of see what they were doing. They were trying to bridge the gap between design and dev. Originally, it was very far, and what you designed was actually quite far from what would get developed. And you could see that they were trying to bring it a bit closer. And as more features started coming out, things like variables, design systems started getting thrown around and would get built in Figma, tokens, dev mode, and even naming layers. And looking back, some designers like me have ended up in a very different spot than we probably started at. With all these new features and Figma becoming kind of the new favorite tool for website and product design, there was some shifts in the industry and shifts within design that started happening. A massive change that Figma introduced was that design stopped living in private files. There wasn't no secrecy anymore. As a designer, you couldn't really just hide off and really work on the craft of it until you were absolutely ready to show it. As a designer, you used to spend all this time to make sure that it was absolutely perfect. And you'd be get ready for your presentation and it'd be this big reveal moment when you either exported it and you sent it over, or you presented in person and you'd be able to watch people see it for the first time and really gauge their reactions and hopefully you hit them. Now every file is shared. You have everybody up in your files. You got PMs, you got developers, you even sometimes have stakeholders or clients in your files looking at you. There's nothing worse than when you're designing and you just see these little cursors hovering around you as you're just trying to think about ideas. You just know someone's watching you. You feel like you're kind of an animal at the zoo getting watched. On one side, this is awesome. As I said, being able to collaborate way faster. This is much better collaboration than I used to have in the Adobe days. Instead of packaging stuff up, sending it across, waiting for the export, making sure that it was the right file type, being able to jump on a call with someone or voice chat with them and be looking at the same file at the same time is so much faster. Being able to just tweak things is so much quicker at being able to explain it like that. But the downside is it's really hard to explore stuff. When you're at that early messy stage and you just kind of want to be a bit free flowing, it's awkward when people are in there looking at stuff and you're kind of like, just give me some space. I'm just trying to work things out right now. I don't really want to be seen. Or when you come back to a file and the design isn't finished, but you already have comments on it, suggesting things. It's hard to have that time to kind of craft on it in your own space. Also, you really got to clean up your work. When I used to be in single files, you could just be as messy as you wanted to be. It was only your file, and then the client wouldn't see that anyway because you just export the final design. The problem in Figma is that if it's messy, there's a chance that a dev goes in there and they look at the wrong design. If you haven't cleaned it up or you haven't been good with your version control, you can have a lot of inconsistencies this way, as maybe there's two designs that look similar and the dev isn't sure which one to build. Design really doesn't have that big reveal anymore. It's really just constantly getting observed as it grows. Along with this, the expectations of a designer started shifting as well. Because before you'd send a Photoshop file that you didn't really have a lot of the things worked out in it, and the dev had to interpret it. But because of Figma, you can inspect things, and the dev can actually see what the exact pixels you are using for the font size, for example. They can see the spacing instead of just guessing it. They can actually go in dev mode, inspect it, see what the padding is, see what the spacing is, as well as in Figma having things that are responsive, like components as an example. In Photoshop, you'd kind of had to build out what it was going to do or how it was going to act, but with components in Figma, you would have all the states set up. So you'd have the default state, the loading state, the hover state, the disabled state, the selected state, whatever other states there were. So the developer could actually go in and know exactly what this button does and how it interacts. As well as the thing I was saying before about having the different screen sizes. There is so many different screen sizes now. So within Figma, you can build things so they're responsive. So you can send it to a dev, they can resize it, and the components and the type size and all those things will actually move around as you're resizing it. So really, as a designer, you're not just making something look cool anymore. In Figma, it actually goes so much deeper. You actually have to understand and think about how's this gonna work? What's actually gonna happen as the user makes the browser bigger or smaller? What happens with this image when it gets hovered over? And with tools like this and bridging that gap, handovers at times do become much smoother. As I was saying before, instead of having to send this static file and then having all these missed interpretations, being able to send something across it's much well packaged, talking through it and then actually understanding, you know, this should be 32 pixels, the padding on this. Getting the built product is actually going to be much closer. It really does raise the expectation of the designer. There is more rules that you have to be aware of and you kind of have to play within. You can't really just rely on what feels right, because if you have a developer who knows how to inspect things and you've used everything as position absolute, they're going to really question what's going on here. So not as much just drawing shapes and just seeing what kind of feels right, but at times making sure that the type styles were perfect across all the breakpoints. So then when the developer comes in and it inspects it and has to look back at the file, if they look at that font, they know it's going to be the same size and everything. This next one's a biggie and I think it's going to rustle some feathers for some people. But at times with Figma, systems became more important than expression. Instead of in the world of designing static screens, you'd have one screen that looked absolutely awesome and the dev had to interpret kind of and build off from that. As teams got bigger and products got bigger, you weren't just designing one screen. You had to really think about the system that's behind this screen. So you'd get a page and you'd have to break up the sections, or a product, you'd have to break up the components within that and think, how is this going to get used not just on this screen, but on all the different screens? And with the power of components and tokens and variables and all those things within design systems, consistency started becoming the goal, not so much just purely uniqueness. And this made products easier to maintain. Having all your components within Figma being linked to a design system made it easier for devs to know the consistency of what they were building and build faster. And I really do think there's a lot of benefit of design systems. I've made videos about it. I work with the design system nearly every day, but it has changed how design feels. And you really do start thinking in a different way when you're designing stuff. There's way less rooms for being quirky and maybe trying to design something a little bit crazy, but it's awesome, but it's maybe just gonna push it too far, because you know that's gonna go outside the system, it's gonna go outside the components you have set up. So maybe you don't always try that idea because you know that it is gonna push things a bit far. And really, there is lots of other tools as well. It's not just Figma. There's the whole rise of no-code development as well, and how that shifted people's perception and also the experience people need. But I think Figma was one of the big catalysts. I'd say they have been one of the leaders that have really propelled designers to learning different skills and really have this big change in the industry. And I think as we reflect, it's important to remember this sometimes. Things can feel crazy because things have shifted so much. Design tools used to just be so single player, and now they're completely shifted with things like Figma. It's so much easier to collaborate, it's so much faster. You can be so much more connected to different teams. And although things do keep shifting and it might feel like there's no spot that it'll ever stop with, I think it's important to reflect and sometimes, and it's encouraging that the principles of design haven't changed. It's as important as ever to know things like good hierarchy, good spacing, typography. These were important in the Photoshop era, and even though there has been so much change and the landscape is very different now, they still are right as important with Figma. I think you have to kind of accept the tools will keep changing, things will keep changing, but it's great to remember that some things do stay the same. And it's just a tool as well. And really, with this, the designer that emerged is kind of different than the one that went in. Someone being way more aware of structures, constraints, maybe not trying that crazy idea, as it's more comfortable to think about the system and how it works, not just that individual screen. I think one side, designers have gained more of a voice as their work is more thought out. And you actually, as a designer, do understand how things are built a little bit as well, which is huge from moving just away from having something pretty, but actually understand the functionality of it. But with that, it really has changed the identity of the job. And sometimes craft can kind of feel like it's taken a backseat. It's not necessarily better or worse. The role of a designer is just different than it used to be, and it really can never go back.